implant crowns.
Okay.
So we have 3 sizes of post or pegs. We have a molar, a premolar, and our home modified anterior slash implant crown
Little tiny crown.
pegs. So things with a little tiny opening. What you don't want is for that peg to touch your margin, because the peg expands and contracts while it's going through the heating process. If you have it touching your, wedged against your margin, then what's going to happen is you're going to crack your margin out of your crown.
Okay.
So since we're doing a molar crown, the risk of that is very, very low.
Those molars are big. They give you some space. And that's
So
a small molar.
Just turn it upside down.
He's going to kind of cover the margins with some of his skin, see? Because he just doesn't want that stuff really coming over onto the margin. So it just makes for a bulky, rough margin. And what this is just a putty that holds this so the crown can go in the oven and stand on something.
Okay.
And be freestanding. It's that simple. It's not very complicated. Also, it gives him something to hold on to when he glazes.
So then you take your peg, place it right into that gel. And the one thing you don't want with this is to have a bunch of material sticking out the side here that's gonna deposit onto your brush while you're glazing it.
Okay.
You don't want to contaminate the glaze. This stuff is real. There's a lot of particles in it,
Okay.
and it'll stick to your brush. So
It's almost like, have you ever seen that kids putty stuff? It's called moon sand.
Mm-mm.
It's kind of like that, but it's almost sandy.
So he's just removing excess. And now he's going to use a brush with glaze, and you just go in one direction and down. Because if you lift back up, you're going to grab that material. So you just go down.
Okay.
So you just need a little bit on your brush.
Where's the glaze?
Right here in this.
But when I need to refill that.
This is the...
You take
Okay.
2 drops of the glaze liquid and about that brush length of the glaze putty.
Okay. 2 drops in brush length.
Okay, I would start on the occlusal, brush across the occlusal, and then you can start down the sides. So you start at the occlusal edge and pull down.
And you're just watching it glisten.
So you want it to seem very, very shiny.
And you can't miss any spots, right? You figured that out.
Right.
So if you look here, it's nice and shiny there, it goes a little dull, and then it's back to nice and shiny, right? So I know that I missed this little spot right in here. The last thing you want to do before you set it in the oven, once you've got it all the way glazed, hold it up to the light and look at the reflection all the way around. If you see a little bubble somewhere, or if you see a little protrusion, it means you've either missed a spot, included an air bubble in your glaze, or you've picked up a small piece of that super peg.
Okay.
putty.
Can
Finger rest. Stick your little pinky out. Yeah, there you go. See how that just steadies your hand?
Mm-hmm.
You can't really do too much glaze, but the more glaze you put on, the more chance you have to trap air bubbles. And air bubbles will break, and then they'll leave a real rough surface.
So I've got all surfaces now.
Yeah, looks pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, and I don't see air bubbles or sand.
Okay, so we're really concerned about the quality of the glaze, and so that cover only gets open when you're using the glaze, and it gets immediately covered.
Okay.
If you have this running with that cover open, that glaze will be ruined.
Dirty.
Yeah, so you gotta, always put that cover on that glaze. That glaze has to be covered all the time.
Okay.
If in doubt about clean glaze, you just do new glaze.
Okay.
Because the oven is gonna burn anything that goes in there, and all those impurities, they make holes in the crown.
Oh, they make hole. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, they don't make holes going through the porcelain. They make holes in the glaze, and that makes the glaze real rough.
Okay.
Also, it takes away the clarity and the shininess.
It's like craters on the surface of the glaze.
Yeah.
So
But
the last thing before we put it on the stand, you'll see that all the anatomy on the occlusal has been filled in by glaze.
Okay.
It's just not a real defined anatomy. So if you take your big fluffy brush, dab over the occlusal surface, you can soak up some of that extra glaze that's on the occlusal.
Oh yeah, that makes a big difference. Okay.
Now it's back to good defined anatomy. Always clean your brushes right away in the alcohol and dry. Then you're going to place your peg on one of these trays. All you have to do is place it right down in the hole. Okay. You're going to open your oven, and using your long tongs, because you have to get it right into the middle. If you use the little one or your hand, you're going to stick your hand in there and it's going to burn you.
It's 500 degrees in there.
It's right now it's 750 degrees.
750, so it's really...
That's hot.
So don't do it.
Always use your instruments.
Now it has to say P3. You see where it says EMAX CAD P3? That's a program, so when you change your program, now we have 2, and I don't know what we use 2 for.
This is correction firing, so if you need to add contact material, or if you
P2's for
need to
corrections.
change the color.
So we have a little bottle of contact, that if the contacts are too thin. And then P1 is for multiple.
Right.
Okay.
So when you have multiple crowns, you go to P1.
Okay.
And so then this, since we're doing an impress crown, this is for P3 is the setting you're going to use
For
most
EMAX.
of the time.
Okay.
Since we're doing an impress
How
crown,
do I know that that's an impress crown?
It's white instead of purple.
Okay.
and that's the impress box that we took it out of.
Okay. So we don't
So-
use anymore.
We use mostly purple.
Right, we're gonna go to this program for this particular crown, and all you have to do is hit start. If you hit close and walk away, you will burn your crown
Okay.
big time. So all you have to do is hit start. It's gonna start closing the lid, and it does what's called a pre-drying phase for just a couple minutes at the beginning.
If there's water in there, that water will expand, turn to steam, right? So at 1700 degrees, it'll explode the crown.
Okay.
So it's trying to dry any water that's out right now at a lower temperature.
Okay.
And you realize what happens at 1700 degrees, a lot of bad things.
Yeah, let's get
Yeah, so then it's just gonna take care of itself from here. And,
So
and
it does
then
the countdown.
you set a timer and leave it in your pocket for whatever that says.
Okay.
So it's